Hello, welcome to my channel. This is an educational channel, and we are looking at the latest theory of everything that we're covering here on this channel. It's mainly what we do is look at various theories of everything and maybe how they fit together, look in great detail, and most of these things are relatively unknown. In fact, you probably won't know anything about any of these things unless you watch this channel. Today is our, I believe, 249th video on the reciprocal system of theory, which was developed by Dewey B. Larson during the 20th century. He passed away back in 1990, left behind a lot of great books and articles on his theoretical universe that he was able to deduce from his fundamental postulates that he put out in the late 1950s as a result of many years of inductive research, all going all the way back to about 1930. And the basic idea behind the reciprocal system is that we live in a universe of motion. The universe is made out of motion, not matter and not energy, but motion. And motion, matter and energy are really just two kinds of motion. And another term that Larson used for motion later on was change in 3 dimensions. He just called it change in 3 dimensions. And he also used the term space-time for motion as well. And that is where you get the reciprocal part of the reciprocal system. Motion, the universe is made out of motion, and motion is the relationship between space and time. So that sets up a generalized reciprocal relationship between space and time. Space and time are basically 2 parts of a fraction. Motion is a fraction that has either time or space as the numerator or at the top, and time or space as the denominator, or space or time as the denominator at the bottom of the fraction. And but they both come in 3 dimensions. I would even say 3 or more dimensions. That's what Larson calls coordinate space and coordinate time. So for example, matter in Larson's system is time to the 3rd power over space to the 3rd power. Those are the units of matter. And that is a stark departure from the MKS system, where matter is one of the fundamental units. Matter, kilogram, meter, kilogram, seconds, mass, kilograms as one of the fundamental. But for Larson, matter is just made out of space and time, as is everything else. For Larson, energy was just simply time over space, which is the inverse of speed, which is space over time. The car is moving 20 miles per hour. And then there's, acceleration, space over time to the 2nd power. And the conjugate of that would be force, time over space to the 2nd power. And every other scientific quantity that you can think of is also just a combination of space and time, a fraction. And so space and time both have 3 dimensions, or they have coordinate space and coordinate time, x, y, z coordinates. Time and space also have their scalar aspects, meaning that they progress or they flow just in one direction, or we see it as just one direction, and you can use a balloon and a magic marker. You put dots on the balloon and you blow up the balloon. All the dots are moving away from each other. That's an outward scalar motion. And that is just like time. Time is progressing. It's always getting later and later and later. In space, that is like space is always getting farther and farther apart. But in no particular direction. That is a scalar outward motion. And now if space is getting closer and closer together, that's an inward scalar motion, or really a negative scalar motion. Now there's also what Larson calls the discrete unit postulate. And that is that time and space only come in chunks. There is a minimum unit of space and a minimum unit of time. Below that, and you don't have space and you don't have time. If you have less than 1 unit of space, you don't have space. You only have time. And if you have less than 1 unit of time, you don't have time. You only have space. Larson calls these the time region and the space region, respectively. And they are both embedded within a larger region or sector that Larson calls the material sector and the cosmic sector. And this also comes from the discrete unit postulate. If you have exactly 1 unit of space in 1 unit of time, that's speed, space over time is speed, then 1 unit of space and 1 unit of time is the speed of light. So the speed of light in Larson's system is unit speed, and it represents a boundary between 2 different sectors of the universe, the material and the cosmic. The material sector is everything that's moving slower than the speed of light, and the cosmic sector is everything moving faster than the speed of light. And the material sector has the time region within it, and the cosmic sector has the space region within it. And this sets up a kind of almost the identical to the Tajitu of the yin-yang Taoist, the circle with the wave between them and the 2 dots on either side. That is what you have basically for Larson's different regions of the universe. And then when you cross these boundaries, you have a unit space boundary, you have a unit speed boundary, and you have a unit time boundary. When you cross these boundaries, the rules invert. Okay, so in the material sector, you have coordinate space and you have a clock time. But if you cross the speed of light boundary, the unit speed boundary, and you move into the cosmic sector, then you have coordinate time and clock space. So you invert the roles of space and time when you cross these boundaries. Okay, that's just a brief overview, and that might not be terribly relevant to today's reading. We're looking at this article from Dr. Bruce Perret, who is one of the kind of chief revisers of Larson's theory. Larson's theory is called the Reciprocal System of Theory, or RST. Perret developed a theory called RS2, the Reciprocal System 2, or the reevaluation of the reciprocal system. He also wrote a number of articles under the name Daniel Phoenix 3, and these are the Daniel papers, and wrote four of the papers of the Daniel papers are his anthropology series on the hidden origins of Homo sapiens. And we're reading the 3rd of those 4 articles. We've already gone through the first 2, so you can check out the 25 videos before this or so. But this article is called Homo Sapiens Ethicus, Life, Death, Reincarnation, and ascension. And I think this is about our fourth day on this particular article, and we are about to get into a section that is called Options While Dying. Okay, so earlier in this article, he went through, different things that can happen to you when you die, and so he's just you might want to look at the previous couple videos for that, but we're going to resume right here. Options while dying. The quantity and type of bioenergy acquired during life provides options when dying of natural or involuntary causes. Unnatural death causes a situation where the remaining jing, the years taken from you, so to speak, are converted directly to chi upon the loss of the corpus. Now remember, there's 3 different kinds of bioenergy. He uses the Taoist terms: jing, low speed bioenergy; qi, intermediate speed bioenergy; and shen, high speed bioenergy. And they're all stored in separate dantians, which are basically little battery packs that we have in our body. The lowest one down by the navel, one in the chest, and one in the head. As a consequence to this boost in qi, death from unnatural causes seldom occurs, as the boost to qi jumps an entity directly to the reincarnation option. This is a type of fail-safe that is embedded into the system to give those entities a second chance, providing they don't want to remain earthbound to spook others as ghosts. Now, he has a long flow chart here that shows your basic path. Here, you start with incarnation. You go to birth. You acquire some jing. Then you get to Homo sapiens erectus, the common man. If your jing is expended, then you die. If you can add some chi, then you go to Homo sapiens thinking man. And if you die, then your jing is expended, then you have to ask whether you have enough chi left. If so, then you head toward reincarnation. If not, you head toward death. And then you can also add some shen, and that will take you to Homo sapiens ethicus, or spiritual man. And then if you have enough jing expended to die, then the question becomes, do you have enough shen? If you do have enough shen, then that means you go to ascension. If you don't have enough shen, that means that you go to that means that you ask whether you can exchange your chi for shen. And if you can, then you can also go to ascension. But if not, then you end up going to back over toward the reincarnation line. And if you don't have enough chi for that, then you end up going still back to death. And the death is basically just you become inanimate. And so it's all over. But if you have enough chi or shen, then you can get into the reincarnation process or the ascension process. Another thing that I'd like to point out to a lot of people who tend to poo-poo the reincarnation idea is that reincarnation was, as far as I know, was once a Christian doctrine. It was part of the original scriptures of the Bible, but it was expunged in 553 AD, in I think one of the councils, council like Constantinople or Nicaea, one of those, the one that was in 553 A.D. And so they just decided to take out the part, the books of the Bible that referred to reincarnation. And so most Christians now kind of recoil and even ridicule the idea of reincarnation. But if you went back 1,500 years, it would be in your Bible, such as it was at the time. Okay, reincarnation and ascension are entry points into a more complex system of tests and consequences, where concepts such as karma come into play, as well as evolutionary history. And again, people who are wanting to poo-poo karma, karma is basically, Newton's third law applied to humans. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you think that humans are for some reason exempt from that, I'd love to hear your explanation as to why humans are exempt from Newton's third law. Okay, now here the concept of death can be considered analogous to flunking out in school, in which you return to a prior grade to learn the lessons you obviously missed and try again. True death, a total return to inanimate status, is basically flunking out of kindergarten, so it is infrequent. Okay, this section is called immortality. A natural consequence of this structure is that if life were to acquire Jing at a faster rate than it were to expend Jing, the natural process of dying would never occur and one could live forever. That is true, but there is a catch, which has to do with our old friend, the magnetic ionization level that is responsible for determining which elements are radioactive. A non-zero magnetic ionization level allows atoms to collect neutrinos to add isotopic mass. In the inanimate realm, atoms can remove this excess mass through radioactivity. But in the case in the case of the life unit, where the material and cosmic structures are in balance, isotopic mass builds on both sides. The material and cosmic structures, again, that's slower than the speed of light and faster than the speed of light, both sides of the equation. The material and the cosmic structures continually increase their atomic displacements until the isotopic mass reaches a point where it neutralizes the atomic rotation. This causes the linkage between the material and cosmic structures of the life unit to disassociate, causing cell death. By acquiring more Jing, you can extend your lifespan, but you will continue to get old. Get old in quotes. But as ancient history teaches, the gods, with a small g, the gods were immortal. So they found a way, but not by extending the life of a single physical body, but by creating bodies on demand and transferring their personality from one body to another through the use of what was termed black magic. There is a way to achieve immortality for humans, as documented by the ancient Taoist masters, if you are willing to pay the price. Curiously, many of the Taoist masters that achieved immortality and departed the mortal realm for the realm of the gods often returned to live out mortal lives, though never explaining why. Okay, just to review a couple of his footnotes here. In the reciprocal system, the magnetic ionization level, an environmental variable, controls the amount of isotopic mass an atom can accumulate before undergoing radioactive decay to eliminate the excess mass. And then the other thing was that yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, we're gonna just go through this first paragraph of this next section that is called the death experience. If you want to understand death, the last place you would want to look is modern religion, and the second to last place to look is to the New Age experts. Go to the source, which starts with the Sumerian records and the books written by the gods with a small g of old, such as the Book of Jubilees, which is a dictation from God recorded by Moses on Mount Sinai while he etched those stone tablets for the Israelites. Yes, God did create man, though genetic engineering though the genetic engineering context got a bit lost in the translation. So if anyone understands the structure of mankind, it's the folks that designed the hybrid, and that information is good reference material. Now, I'm not quite getting what he's saying there, because he says, I didn't clarify this either, the source starts with the Sumerian records and the books written by the gods of old with a small g. But then he says, such as the Book of Jubilees, which is a dictation from God with a big G, recorded by Moses on Mount Sinai, while he, with a big H, etched those stone tablets for the Israelites. Yes, God, with a big G, did create man. And then he says, though the genetic engineering context got a bit lost in the translation. So if anyone understands the structure of mankind, it's the folks that designed the hybrid. And that information is good reference material. Well, the gods with the small g designed the hybrid, as far as I can tell. So I'm a little bit confused. Maybe I'll get over it overnight and be able to explain it better. But we will be revisiting this section tomorrow when we resume. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.